Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Lisa Lashendro, one of the annuity directors here at Insurance Agency Marketing Services. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I've got Jared with Brighthouse on the phone. I'm very, very excited to have Jared join us and go over the Brighthouse products. He was one of the guys that helped design this thing, so you're hearing from the best today. So Jared, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having
Uh,
me.
yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the attendees here and I see some folks that are already contracted with us. There are some new names here I do not recognize. So for you that are new and this is your first webinar with IMS, welcome. And I hope you enjoy and get some good tools and strategies out of this hour that we have here today together. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that are already working with IMS, this might be a little bit of a rerun, but also a good reminder of a lot of the tools that we have here at IMS. So take a look at what we've got coming up here and we'll get started. When you get contracted with us here at IMS, and you'll hear me say the IMS family all the time because I really feel like it is more of a family organization. You feel like whether you're one of our carriers, whether you're Jared or whether you're one of our agents, we truly do act like a family. You'll end up becoming friends with other advisors here. Everybody here is going to know your name. We don't have voicemail. We have a 2-ring guarantee. So you're always going to be able to speak with a live person when you call the one number that you need. It's just 1-800 number, and you'll get your questions answered or your request handled or whatever it is that you need us to help you with. So when you get contracted with IMS, we have our new producer builders program. And right out of the gate, for the first 6 months, any of the business that you have written with us, you'll end up in one of these categories, either 100,000 all the way up to 1 million, if not more, hopefully. That would be great. But we've got a few examples of some of the things that we hand out when you hit one of those levels. Level 1, and it could be anywhere from a postcard mailing to cash, or maybe you want us to reevaluate your marketing strategies. $250,000 level is $1,500 and a gift card or whatnot. But what I want to really point out and make known, these are just examples and ideas of those different marks that you would hit with IMS. We definitely think outside the box here. That's what makes us so unique. Not one of our agents run their business the exact same as the other. So just because you don't see something in one of these categories that perks your interest does not mean that it's not available. What you'll do is you'll end up talking to your marketer, at the end of the 6 months, and you guys will come up with some sort of a plan of what would be the best strategy to help grow your business. Or if you just want the cash, we can do that too. So just keep that in mind when you're writing your business with us and kind of coming up with a marketing plan. Next, we love referrals. I know you love referrals, and really there's no better compliment than a referral. But what we are going to do here at IMS is we're going to let you know how much we appreciate that referral by giving you a little extra coin in your pocket. We start out right out of the gate, $50, check that gets sent out to you when your referral contracts with us. And then we got overrides that you would receive. They make these checks payable out to you once a quarter. But for whatever life business, indexed annuity business, MIGA, SPL, you will receive an override for as long as you and that agent is contracted and doing business with IMS. So definitely a nice way to help a fellow agent with an awesome IMO to work with. And then you also get a little extra coin in your pocket. Part of working with IMS, and for all of those that I see here on the list that are already contracted with us, you can all vouch for this, but we have the best back office support in the industry, in my book. I've worked for a lot of different carriers and different organizations, and this is by far my favorite, and where I'll probably be parking for the rest of my career. But our back office support is just fantastic. Our folks in the new business team, they know these applications inside and out. They know how to get things processed and um, paid, and your commission paid as fast as possible. You've got us directors here that can help you with all the case design. We'll help you with quotes. We'll help you with coaching and presenting presentations. I can even hook you up with Jared here, and we can go over Brighthouse illustrations, and he can take a deeper dive and really prepare you with the client too. I mean, so we really do go above and beyond to provide you with the best possible back office support there is. Next, I invite all of you to go on to our website, register on our website if you haven't already, and go to www.imesinc.com. Here you're going to find a plethora of access and tools. We have term quoters, we have our sales resource library, which a lot of people don't realize that they have access to. And you don't necessarily have to be contracted with us to see that. So you want to get a little taste of what IMES has to offer, go to our website. You will be impressed, I guarantee you. And on our website, we have Firelight, one of the best e-app solution tools in the industry. If you are not using Firelight, then I encourage you to call your director or call somebody here at IMES, and we will walk you through it. This is going to save you so much time. It's going to save aggravation for the client because it's automatically pulls the correct forms. You can still get wet signatures from the client if you want to, meet them face to face and you don't want to send them an email, or if they're in your office, they can sign right next to you too. If you have any questions on Firelight, getting registered for Firelight, please let us know. You can register for Firelight, go into eApps on our web page. So if you need any assistance with that, don't hesitate to let us know. This is going to make your application process so much faster. Again, a much more pleasant experience for the client too. We also have our creative marketing solutions. These guys, our team back there for creative marketing, are so talented. I'm so excited every time I see a piece that they bring out for one of my agents, because I'm blown away, and my agents are usually blown away too, or are blown away. They can do anything for you, from a logo design, help you with advertising. Maybe we need to revamp your social media pages. Maybe we need to do a whole, ground up website and do a website that interacts with other marketing strategies. They can do it all. So if you have anything that you would like to learn more about or look at other options, contact your marketer. Your marketer will help you get in contact with the creative marketing team, and we will take care of you from there. Also, when your contract with IMES, it doesn't end. We also will take care of the membership fee for Retirement Analyzer. Retirement Analyzer is a program that you may have heard of in our industry, but this is a great tool to be able to keep track of your client situation. It's simple. You fill in the data, and it will provide you with different pie charts, or as you can see, easy to see graphs and simplicity. So if you are contracted with us and this is something that you're interested in, definitely let your marketer know or give our office a call. We would be happy to assist you and get set up. If you're new to IMES and would like a tour, we have Marcus Solar here in our office, and he runs webinars and things like that on Retirement Analyzer. and he'd be happy to assist you there too. So just give us a call if you want more information or get rolling with a retirement analyzer. We also have our IMS Wealth Management team here, and I love talking about these guys, Duncan Smith and Zach in that office, Charles Jr. They're all fantastic when it comes to helping my agents with the wealth management side of the business. So you can either go two different routes with these guys. You can either go ahead and, if you're already securities licensed and you want to start running your business through IMS Wealth Management, they take care of you so well, much better than a BD, much more, the price is a lot more reasonable as well. But if you're tired of dealing with compliance and doing all the legwork, these guys literally do it all for you. I highly recommend you chat with Duncan or Charles back there and ask them questions if you are interested in learning a little bit more. I think I've got a poll here. I do. I'm going to launch a poll for IMS Wealth Management. Another thing while I'm doing this poll, hopefully you guys can see the poll. Jared, can you see it?
I can see the poll, yes.
Okay, cool. It's not showing up on my end. So for those of you that are not registered, but have a client that has a securities need, you can also utilize IMS Wealth Management. They will help your client out. And the cool thing about that is you are controlling your client and not referring them to an advisor down the street that has a securities license and then have a chance of him taking the rest of that business or your client altogether. We all know that happens. Back when I was an agent, it happened to me all the time. Did not like it, which is why I got securities licensed. But utilizing, if I had a way I could utilize, a team like IMS Wealth Management, so I could keep my keep my client in my own backyard, not worry about somebody taking the rest of their business or defaming me. Trust me, this would have been I would have been a little bit more ahead on my revenue, I think. But definitely take advantage of these guys. Like I said, Duncan will reach out to you, explain whatever it is you have questions about. They look at every advisor as a whole different scenario, so you're not put in this one particular box and one size fits all. They are unique to their strategies with each advisor. I'll go ahead and close the poll. Thank you guys for participating in that. Whoops. We do have our Top Producer Summit. This is the best one that we've had thus far that I'm aware of. Our Top Producer Summit this year is going to be a Mediterranean cruise. You're going to start off in Rome and end up in Venice, Italy. Not bad. I believe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stops. So not a trip I would turn down, but qualification, you still have time to qualify for this trip. Qualification period does end on June 30th of 2022 this year. It takes 4.5 million points to qualify. If you would like additional information or have questions around COVID or anything like that with this trip, just give our office a call. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you. We also have our Life and Annuity Academy. We do have this coming up. Our next one will be early April. And I'm going to run a poll on this too, why I talk about it. But all expenses are paid by us here at IMS. We're partnering with another carrier, I believe, that'll be at one of their buildings. But we bring in the best of the best to talk to you. You'll be rubbing elbows with other successful agents in our industry working with IMS. We pay for the hotel, travel, airline, the whole dinner, everything. We usually have to, turn some folks away because we only have so many seats. So I do strongly recommend that you get registered. Click yes if you need me to send you the registration link for this academy. If you have already been to one and it's been 18 months, let us know and we can see, where things are at. But we try to bring new folks in, so everybody gets the IMS experience for our Life and Annuity Academy. But really, the goal for these things is for you to walk away with new ideas, strategies to grow your business. And that's really what we're focusing on with these academies. We'll do them a couple times a year. But again, if you are interested in this, click on the yes button and we'll be sure to get you the information that you need. All right. And with that, I'm about done. The last thing I want to mention is our Facebook and LinkedIn pages. I would love for all of you to join us, share us on our pages. We try to keep everybody educated on what's going on in the industry. When Jared gives us some good pieces, we share that. And he's always got some smart things to come up with that nobody else is thinking about. So with that, Jared, I don't know how much more of an introduction you want me to give you,
That's actually
but
perfect. I'll take it.
but I'm gonna hand it off to you. Let me get your
Perfect.
screen set up here. And you guys, seriously, it's a pleasure having Jared. I love hearing him talk about this product. He does such a phenomenal job, and it really gets the wheels turning in your head. So, Jared, take it away.
Perfect. Let me keep you on here for just a second, Lisa, to make sure that I have this popped up correctly and you can see it.
Mm,
Dun, dun, dun. How is the view? Look good?
it sure does. Market
Awesome. All right. Well,
synergy.
perfect. Well, thank you again, Lisa, for the kind introduction, and thank you to everyone who's joined us. As Lisa said, my name is Jared Anderson. I work for a company called Market Synergy Group that does product development and distribution. As Lisa had alluded to, what we were going to talk about today is specifically around the Brighthouse Secure Advantage 6, which has slowly become an extremely competitive accumulation opportunity for both you and your clients. So we'll spend a little time on here, and I'd ask that you type in any questions that you have at the end, or certainly reach out to Lisa or any other fantastic sales associates with IMS there in Omaha. So just real quickly, again, as I mentioned, we are a product development distribution company. We work with AIG as well as Brighthouse Financial. As Lisa mentioned earlier, we were part of the design in regards to this specific product, excuse me, for the FIA space. And we want to share with you why we got to where we are. And then hopefully you guys can find this to be a product that you would want to place into your portfolio of products that you have the ability to offer to your clients. Okay, so why Secure Advantage 6? I want to spend a few moments on this specifically because when we sat down at the table and went through the design process, we had a ton of questions, and quite frankly, we were looking for something that was different, right? I couldn't tell you within 50 how many products that you all have access to in the marketplace today as independent advisors, so we wanted something that essentially would stick out. So we also knew that from an accumulation standpoint, we could get more utilizing longer point-to-point crediting strategies. But we also knew there was going to be some objections and some questions that were being asked by the advisors. So client sees no gains in the index till the end of the crediting term, right? No death benefit if client dies before the end of the crediting term. No interest credit reduces free withdrawal availability. No partial credit on free withdrawals. Can lose all gains at the end. And no annual reset to take advantage of down market rebounds. Okay, so again, to take a step back, we knew how much more of an accumulation opportunity you could get with a longer term crediting strategy, but also that these are objections that you see across the board. So we tried to answer each and every one of these questions, right? What if we could solve those? So client sees no gains. Well, we actually have full performance daily value shown on the website for both you and the client. Advisor has the ability to log in and say, I want to pick a specific client and see where they're at today. Those update on a daily basis. No death benefit. That full performance daily value is actually what you get paid out at death. No interest credit reducing free withdrawals availability. It was simple for us. We said, okay, what if we just made this a 10% of initial premium and let's include year one to give clients access to their funding. So if we start with a $100,000 policy, client has access to $10,000 day one, and we know that they'll have access to $10,000 for the next 6 years. Okay. So why is that important? Oftentimes it's, accumulated value for free withdrawals. From a planning perspective, we know exactly what that dollar amount is going to be. My argument would be on an accumulation type of a situation where you have access to 10% of accumulation value. If you get no returns next year, maybe that 10,000 is now 9, and then from 9 down to 8. And we just thought this was a lot cleaner. No partial credit on free withdrawals. We have something what I refer to as time served. Okay. So in the simplest form, if client decides to take a free withdrawal in year 3, they've spent half of the time in that contract or 50% of the time in that contract. If, again, for simplest form, that contract is up 10% at the time, they will receive a 5% credit because they've fulfilled half of their contractual agreement. So it's not as if they're taking free withdrawals is going to hurt them because they're going to get the credit for the time that they've served. Can lose money at the end. We have 2 different crediting options that we'll go through today, one of which has an annual reset that's the first of its kind in this space that, like I said, we've had a tremendous amount of success with, especially conceptually understanding how it works. And then secondly, we did a simple point-to-point on the S&P, the Russell, and the CS Trueball Technologies Index. We knew that that is an option that a lot of people like, and for that we have a one-time lock-in capability on that specific crediting strategy. Okay, I'm going to skip through this one. Actually, I'm not. Let me take a step back. Worst part of indexed annuities certainly is renewal rates. One of the conversations, or at least a lot of the conversations that I've had with advisors over the last 20 years, being in this space on the side of the wholesaling is, man, I had a great initial rate with my client. Wonderful conversation. It performed well. And then 2 years into the contract, we had to have a conversation about renewals. The unique piece of us doing a longer term crediting strategy while still taking advantage of the annual resets is your rates are guaranteed for the entire 6-year term of the contract. Okay. And I'll repeat that. Your rates are guaranteed for the entire 6-year term of the contract, which quite frankly isn't something that you can see anywhere else in this industry today. We'll go through exactly how that works. Again, I'm going to skip some of these slides for sake of your time. But I want you guys to think about that. How many conversations have you had to have with a client where 3, 4, 5 years in, they said, hey, my cap rate on the S&P when we bought this thing was 6% and now it's 4%. What happened? Well, insurance companies have the ability to make that change based on current option prices at renewal, which is a huge advantage to the insurance company. And quite honestly, most all of them do that, right? Our thought process was, how can we get the biggest accumulation opportunity, not have to have you worry about having that renewal conversation, still have an annual reset, have S&P type crediting strategies, include a volatility control because they've become so popular, and really have something on a short-term accumulation in a current interest rate environment like we're in today, to where you as the advisor can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I have this great 6-year product that I want you to set aside a portion of your retirement assets in order to watch that grow. In 5 or 6 years, we're going to revisit this and we're going to have the ability to make a change. Because as I mentioned earlier, for being in this business for 20 years, the insurance space is very innovative. My personal opinion, and keep in mind this is a personal opinion, it will continue to be innovative, and products that will be out 6 years from now, hopefully with improvement from the interest rate environment, will be substantially better. So I kind of refer to this as a little bit of a gap filler. Those individuals that are at retirement or close to retirement, they have a little extra money setting aside that they want to say, man, I'd love to see that thing really grow, but I don't want to take the risk of losing any. This is a great solution for that. Plus adding the free 10% free of initial premium. There's income planning that you can do all around this. 6 years from now, hopefully, if we can see a rise in interest rates, you as the advisor and that client have the ability to reposition. Maybe it's a situation where now there's a need for income. You have the ability to put them into an income rider product. Or they loved it, right? That's the other thing that's always important to point out. They loved the way that this performed. They loved having 50% of the S&P 500 for the next 6 years. You as the advisor have the ability to put them right back into it, rewrite a new policy. You get a new commission. They get a new 6-year term based on current rates. And we think that we're going to see a lot of that. We're almost 2 years I'm sorry, a little bit over 2 years in to our initial launch of this product from February of 2020. And Lisa can share with you, I've had this conversation. I was actually in their office earlier this week. We've had massive returns and a tremendous amount of success with this. So let's get into it a little bit here. Brighthouse is obviously an enormous company, and I want to, it's obviously important that you guys understand the companies that you're representing, as you can see on the bottom right, A-rated across the board with rating agencies. Essentially a spinoff of MetLife Financial, and this is now their insurance side. Brighthouse has been around for about 8 or 9 years, had a tremendous amount of success in the variable annuity space, and we were the first to bring an FIA to the table with them, so obviously we're pretty excited about that. Just taking a step back here, sale of index-linked annuities. As I mentioned, Brighthouse has been around for a while now, and they've done almost $18 billion in sales through their Shield product, and our thought process is that's an amazing concept, amazing product, but it still has downside risk. So how can we take an FIA that looks like the RILAs that are out there today and provide it to the insurance advisors that we're working with on a regular basis to say, we love the concept of that growth opportunity, but we don't want to have a situation where we can lose money. And that's exactly what this product is. Excuse me. So when we built the product, we really built it around 3 pillars, right? Protection, which is an obvious one. As I mentioned earlier, this is an FIA, so at no time the S&P could be down for the next 6 straight years. Your client will never lose a penny. Growth opportunity. This innovative annual sum indexing account, as well as the performance lock, are kind of new to this space, and I want to go through those in detail here in a second. And then clarity, no annual fees, 10% of initial premium, the daily difference that we refer to, where the client has the ability to log on to their Brighthouse account and say, where's my value at today? And that's right there, changed every single day based on S&P up and down. So protection, we don't have to spend a ton of time on this one. As I mentioned to you earlier, 6 straight down years of the S&P is, in a worst case scenario, still means that that client never loses a penny. And then really the growth pillar, the opportunity that we see with this annual sum crediting strategy, as well as the point-to-point on the S&P and Russell 2000, including the CS Trueball Target Sectors Index that we just launched roughly 8 months ago. We feel as if this is an accumulation opportunity that you can't find anywhere else out there in the space. So obviously everyone's familiar with S&P and Russell, so I do want to spend a few minutes on the Credit Suisse Trueball U.S. Target Sectors Index and talk to you about it. As Lisa would probably tell you when you all call her after this conversation, I'm a fairly blunt person, so just bear with me when I make these comments. But I couldn't tell you within 75 how many vol control indexes there are out there. But they are important. They do work. They do complement S&P. They complement Russell, and I think there's absolutely a place for them in any specific product that you sell or present to your client. And the reason I say that is if you think about this, oftentimes what I've seen over the last 20 years is allocating 100% to one specific crediting option. Up until 10 years ago, there was no vol control. It was all S&P, or maybe there was Dow or any of the other indexing options that you remember if you've been in the business over the last 20 years. But the reality is, if you think about building a portfolio for a client, at no time are you ever going to put 100% allocation into one specific option for them, not one equity, not one stock. You're going to diversify, right? So makes a ton of sense to me to diversify. And, really what you have to do is determine how does that vol control index differentiate itself from the rest of them that are out there. Oftentimes in vol control indexes, there's an equity component, a fixed income component, and they're hitting a specific volatility target by moving in and out of cash or fixed income on a daily basis. So why is this one different? It's going to be step 3, okay? A responsive risk control mechanism powered by Salt Financial. We'll go through the actual components, and then I want to talk to you briefly about what Salt Financial does with the Trueball technologies. So this specific equity portion of the vol control index is 11 different ETFs on the S&P 500, which are extremely important ones. You can see the list there on the left side. The allocation of the sectors is based on their volatility and mean reversion propensity. So every month the index picks 5 sectors, SPDR ETFs with the lowest recent historical volatility, weighted in reverse ranking according to their 6-month returns. So again, of the, I don't know, 200, 400, 600 vol control indexes out there, quite frankly, very similar to the rest that are out there on the marketplace today. The fixed income strategy is a little bit different and unique. Adaptive allocation between both short and medium term treasuries. What this does is give you either a risk on or a risk off measurement dependent upon fixed income returns at the time. Oftentimes, vol control indexes will have 10-year treasury as an option and then nothing on the short term side. And with the fluctuation that we've seen in rates over the last couple of months, or maybe call it a year, this becomes another mechanism to help maximize the return opportunity for the client. Excuse me. And then the risk control mechanism that I was talking to you about. Just want to spend a couple minutes on that because I do think I'm going to skip through a couple of these slides, but I do think that this is the important differentiator that you don't see in the rest of the vol control strategies that are in the marketplace today. I'm going straight to this. So I just want to talk briefly about this, and like I said, have Lisa or myself jump on a call with you if you have additional questions. But the easiest way to explain this is think of it like this. Market opens at 8:30 Central Time. I don't know where you guys are located, but for me, market opens at 8:30. Let's say, for instance, the S&P 500 is at 1,000. We're going to use 1,000 for easy number 6. By 10 o'clock in the morning, a fantastic jobs report pops out, and everyone's bullish. And now all of a sudden the S&P jumps up to 12 or 1,300. But in the afternoon, maybe Russia decides to invade Ukraine, and then it drops down to 800, just like that. And this is a real possibility. Now, it's not common, but it's certainly a real possibility. And then by the end of the day, we decide that was just a rumor. It's not actually happened. The S&P closes at 1,000. 99.9% of the vol control indexes, which are there to control volatility, will look at that and say, S&P opened at 1,000, closed at 1,000, there was no volatility today. What Trueball technology does is it picks up those little pieces throughout the day in order to make the determination the following day. So what does that mean to you and your clients? Roughly 1.5% to 2% more in growth on an annualized basis. So this is new. Lisa laughs at me, but I'll tell you, when we first launched this product, I told everybody that there's going to be lookalikes with what we're doing, and sure enough, I was actually right for once. I would argue to say that a lot of these vol control indexes will have either the Trueball technology or certainly something similar to it over the next 6 to 12 months. So this is the piece that separates it, right? As I mentioned, we don't even know how many vol control indexes there are out there, but not all of them have this, and this is what separates it from the rest of the vol control indexes in the industry today. So that was a quick rundown there, but I think it's important to look into that one. And if I go back a slide, we can get you all this information, the Credit Suisse micro side, as well as information on Salt Financial and how they come up with the solutions that they do. But again, as I mentioned, something unique and different that I think that you could separate yourself from the rest of your competition in your respective areas. So back to the clarity pillar in regards to this specific product. No annual fee. This is an FIA. The daily difference and the free withdrawal are things that we've all discussed. But most importantly, I want to talk to you briefly about the annual sum indexing account, as well as the performance lock and the daily difference. So here's just a couple terms that you may see when you run an illustration on this specific product. Interim value is something that I always like to put out. Interim value is the comment I used earlier in reference to time served. So an interim value, using the math that we talked about, will show that the contract is actually, that the crediting rate is actually up 10%. They've been there half the time, so they actually get 5. So there's only 2 times in which interim value comes into play. The client decides that they're ready to surrender the policy prior to the contract term, or you're trying to calculate an RMD, which is a good thing, right? Because generally speaking, if clients are looking to take out RMDs and that's all they're looking to take out, they want to take out as least as possible. So in this specific situation, we could have a daily performance value of 110, but an RMD would be based off of 105 because it's based off of the interim value. Daily performance value, which will come into play when the clients choose to log on to their account, or in the event that the unexpected happens and they pass away during the contract term. At any given day, you have the ability to go onto the website and see where they're at based on the crediting options that you've chose. So the daily performance value is visible for them, in addition to the death benefit, as I mentioned, in the event that the unexpected happens. So the performance lock has become very popular for us as well. This is only on the S&P point-to-point crediting option, but think of it like this. We have 40% par on the S&P point-to-point crediting option, point A to point B over a 6-year time frame. And as you can see, the fluctuations here as an example. Of course, right, we picked the high point in order to lock it in, but the reality is you and the client have the ability to say, you know what, it's up pretty good. I want to lock in my value, and I'll sit on the sideline the remainder of the terms. I'll tell you, you know, our timing couldn't have been better in regards to the success that we've had with this product. But we launched in February of 2020, and unless you guys have been living under a rock, I think we all know that there was a world pandemic that took place shortly after that. So a lot of individuals were fortunate enough to get in at a very low point of the S&P 500. And we've already had, within a 12 to 14 month time frame, a handful of individuals lock in 40+% returns. And essentially what they're saying is I'm plus 42% over a 6-year time frame. That's an annualized return of 7. I'm pretty comfortable with that. Now, the remainder of the term, they'll sit on the sidelines, but they already know that that number is locked in. And no matter what happens beyond that through the end of the contract term, that 42% in that specific situation is locked in. And then the contract becomes liquid after the 6-year term is up.
Hey, Jared, can you go back to
Yes.
that real quick? I get questions, and if you could give us an example. So let's say they chose to lock it in year 3.
Okay.
Okay, so then what happens the remainder of the contract term? It's just going to sit there and it won't grow anymore, or can you elaborate a
That's
little
correct.
bit on that?
Yep. So no matter what
That's
happens, if let's just say, for instance, where the key and the lock is on that screen, if they chose to lock it in right there and that's in year 3, no matter what happens following, up or down, the number that they lock in at is the number that they will receive at the end of the contract term. So
so
it's not.
if they didn't select a lock at all in the 6 years, then it could be volatile, it could be up or down, or would it average?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So ironically enough, I was shocked to see an individual lock in within the first year, but like I said, they were up 40+%. So they know that, let's just use $100,000 as an example, Lisa. They know that at the end of the 6-year term that their value will be $140,000, and there's nothing that they have to do. So markets can go up and they potentially lose out, quite honestly, or markets crash in the last 2 years of their specific contract, and they're locked in at that $140,000 level.
Mm-hmm. And then if they were to die, like within that 6-year period, then they would get that value as well.
That's correct. Absolutely.
So that's just something I wanted to, go a little deeper in on some examples. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So the last thing we want to talk about is the annual sum crediting strategy, and this is really the biggest focus of the design of this product. The index performance is measured and stored each contract year during the initial 6-year term and then summed at the end of the term. So the easiest way for me to explain this for those that have been in the business for a long time is if you remember the old monthly point-to-point crediting options that were popular 12, 15 years ago, this is the exact same thing but done on an annual basis. So you can see the example here using 50% par on the S&P, and this is just numbers that we put on here to conceptually help you understand it. In any given year, you lock in 50% of the S&P 500, and then you move on to the next year. So in this specific example, year 1, the S&P was up 6, we bank a 3. Up 472, you can see we bank a 237. On the downside, the difference between this and how the old monthly point-to-point crediting options worked is we have a 10% floor. So I often get this question, Lisa and I talk about it quite often. What happens, are they losing money? The answer to that is no. So we're summing those 6 different credits throughout the term. Again, this is a small number example to show you. Add a 3, add a 2.36, subtract a 27, 44319. That number comes up to 1225 over a 6-year time frame. So are we losing money? Absolutely not. And why is this an advantage, and why do I think that this is the best accumulation opportunity there is out there? For a couple different reasons. Let's go to the next slide and talk specifically about it. So let's just assume 2007 to 2010, kind of a worst case scenario if you were to jump into this on 12/31 of 2007, right? S&P value is at 1468, and it dropped all the way down to 903 by the end of the year in 2008. So that's a substantial loss, right? But the reality is we are stopped at this floor of 10%. The advantage to that is a couple things. Now, because we have annual reset on this crediting options, our next year's starting value of the S&P is 903, okay? We've only banked, again, and I'm air quoting here, we've only banked a negative 10 because we have that floor. But also the most important piece to think about is, as I mentioned in the very beginning, we're guaranteed 50% participation in the S&P for the next 6 years of this contract, no matter what happens, right? So generally speaking, let's just go back and I'll tell you my personal opinion of what happens in a year when the S&P is at 1468 and it drops to 903. The volatility associated with the market will cause option prices to skyrocket. Therefore, if you had a 40% par on the S&P here on an annual reset that has the ability to make that change, next year that's going to price at somewhere around the 15 to 18%. So not all companies are going to move it to that level, but they're slowly going to lower it in order to make profits. They're not-for-profit organizations. This one, you don't ever have to have that conversation. And then as we move forward, you can see that year was down 38.49%, but because we have that floor of 10%, it protects the downside. So now we've banked a negative 10, but the next year we get a set, like I said, we get to start at that lower value because we have an annual reset, and then watch that growth increase to 1,115, and then that's 23.45%. So in that specific year, we got 11.72. So I get the question all the time, why is this different than an annual reset? Well, let's just go back to the very beginning here. In this specific situation, if you had an annual reset and let's say, for instance, a 40% participation on the S&P, that huge drops means you got a zero. That's always where I kind of lose people or they start to question it. The next year, we're up 23.45. If you have a 40% par rate on that, you're somewhere around 8%. So undoubtedly, you're higher, no question. But the key is, did it stay at 40% par for this year because of all the volatility in the market the year before? And will it stay at 40% par the year after that because of all of the volatility it saw in the first year of that contract? Because in that specific year is up 12.78% and we got 6.39. So equivocally, if the carrier that had 35, 40% par, whatever the number may be, if they're acting according to market conditions, they're going to have to lower that par rate in these 2 years, and you never have to have that conversation. So again, Lisa, I apologize. That was a lot of information on that one, but
Nope, I love that one. And when I talk to my advisors about this, I, kind of give the story. Okay, so that first year we had a huge drop of 38%. You still got to make up for the difference. We're only taking our rate down 10% for that 10%
correct.
floor, right? But how
Yep.
much, if you were in the market, how much more would your account value have to make up the difference beyond that 10% floor?
Yep.
So
So
not
it
only,
kind of shows that here at the bottom, right? The S&P
hmm
started at 1468, ended at 1258. In that specific scenario, the S&P was actually down 14.3% from 12/31/07 to 12/31/2010. It never had rebounded to the 1207 value, but we are a positive 8.11%. And again, oftentimes I'll get the question, well, yeah, but if I had annual reset, I would have got a zero that first year, and then I would have got my participation rate in the next 2 years, whatever that participation rate may be. And that is 100% accurate. That's hard to argue outside of the fact that the insurance carrier has the control and the ability to take that rate and do whatever they want with it. And with this much volatility in the market, the likelihood of that renewal rate not renewing at the same initial is very, very high. And I would imagine a lot of the people on the phone have had that experience before, so hopefully they
hmm
understand exactly what I'm saying. So,
Yep.
okay, real quickly, and then I'll wrap up because I know I want to be respectful of your time. It's already 10:47, but this is just a quick snapshot of the illustration using the 50% par rate on the S&P 500. And this is the CS Trueball Technologies Index. As you can see, that has 115% participation. Lisa knows this. I'm not a huge fan of illustrations. I feel like it's put us in a tough position when carriers in the 10, 12, 15% range from an illustrated rate. But I will tell you, going back looking at our S&P illustration over a 6-year time frame, this 4.63 is highly realistic. That's what indexed annuities were designed to do, a couple percentage points higher than 10-year treasury rates. So this is a realistic number. I will also tell you that, again, it was a world pandemic and we got lucky in regards to where we started, but I could probably find 25 to 30 different annual statements where the client in the first year locked in plus 40%. So essentially what that means is no matter what happens over the next 5 years, they're undoubtedly going to be positive. The S&P could be down double digit for the next 5 years, and at a worst case scenario, they still get their money back. So extremely excited to see some of the performances that we had over the first couple years of this existing contract. So that's a quick. I think I'm going to skip through the rest of this, Lisa. Again, this just shows an illustrated rate using the 40% par and the point to point. The one thing I'll add, and then again, this is the CS point to point. The one thing I'll add, we have options on S&P, Russell, CS Trueball Technologies Index, or Target Sectors Index. You can allocate it any way you choose to do so, and that's something that we talked about earlier, something that I highly recommend. Hopefully you guys would agree with that. The last piece I want to talk about before we go to the rates and then wrap it up for questions, Lisa, is what I refer to as page 17 of the illustration software system. So what this does is it essentially gives you 3 different 6-year time frames of the annual index performance of the S&P, the Russell 2000, and the CS Trueball Target Sectors Index. So this will give you a snapshot of different times, right? 2008, the S&P was down 38.49%, as we said. That was a 10% negative, but the reality is it would have been even better if that was the starting year, because they get the jump the next year. And these are all the key component you guys have to remember is these rates are guaranteed for the 6-year time frame. So a 17, a 45, a 30, historically roughly around 5.8% if we go back over the last what would that be, 18 years. Similarly on the Russell, it's been a little bit more volatile, and then CS Trueball Technology as well. It's a true accumulation opportunity that you can have great conversations with your clients about. So quickly, I'll put up the rates, and then I'll ask Lisa if I can turn it back over to her. And then if you guys have any questions, you can certainly type them into the chat. The second thing that I would ask is give us an opportunity here. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how well this product positions your potential clients and an accumulation opportunity over a short period of time. So Lisa, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jared. I do want to reiterate that whole lock feature. I mean, there's not a lot of options out there for a feature like that, and Brighthouse has proven to do very well for their clients that have that option. And then, the diversification, you are able to, use a little bit of each if you want. Maybe instead of doing like a fixed rate, you can use the lock option as part of your strategy. And then the client has the option to lock that and not worry about it, let it sit and sit and hang out until the end of the contract. So a lot of opportunity and a lot of options that you get with this product. Jared, I don't see any questions, and that must mean that you did a wonderful job explaining it all.
I hope
Everybody
so.
on the call right now is going to go out and write an application and send it over your way because you did so good.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. I am going to run one more poll here on Brighthouse. If you are interested in getting appointed with Brighthouse and be able to write these products, the commission is also very competitive. They are big on technology, so we can help you with Firelight and doing applications to get max out that as well. But yeah, with that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Jared, for your time. Thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. And I'll keep this poll up for another minute. Other than that, have a great weekend.